Why do you think? Well, why do you think I'm not? We had a good indication today of self-hating Jews in the paper today. The kind of Jews that Pinsker is talking about and Herzl is trying to escape from, and so on and so forth. These are actually Israelis themselves. What did they do today that was so amazingly stupid and mind-bogglingly self-destructive? You guys don't read the papers, you're lucky. I won't tell you that. No, but this Peace Now movement in Israel that's been around for 10 or 20 years and always wants to have peace, but there's no one obviously extending the hand of peace to them, but they think that as long as they cry peace, someone will shake their hand or something, or like them better or whatever. Came out today with an analysis of the so-called settlements. These are not settlements, these are actual towns and things that people have worked hard to build up. But so-called settlements that they're built, 40% of them supposedly, according to their documents, are built on, private Arab land. And I know for a fact that that is a total lie, because I know how Islamic law works. And then now all the papers have picked that up. So what they do is they undermine their own situation, make people think they're stealing things from the Arabs or this sort of thing. It's really shocking. It's just out of total ignorance that people like that do these. Where they got the documents from, I don't know, but it's splattered across them, most of the newspapers as, not a lead story, but one of the interesting stories of the day. That really makes me angry, because I know where these settlements are, and I've seen them with my settlements, little towns. I've seen them with my own eyes, and they're on rocky, barren, nowhere places. There's no, there is no cultivated Arab land almost anywhere near any of them. On hilltops and in stretches of barren rock that they have revived and so on, and they haven't taken anybody's private land for the most part that I can see anywhere. All the ones I've seen have been built out in nowhere, in the boondocks, as it said, that no one's ever touched. And how do I know that that is not private land? Because I know Islamic law. Islamic law, I've written a book on it, Islamic law in Palestine and Israel. They used to sell it down in the bookstore. I even actually have an article here that I wrote some years ago that I found in my office. Young Turk legislation, 1913 to 17, its application in Palestine, Israel. This primarily deals with land law, Ottoman land law, and Islamic land law, which was based on Islamic land law. In Islamic land law, there are three kinds of land. There's mulk, which is private property. There's matruki, which is sort of land as used by villages in a common manner for grazing or something like that. And then there's mewat, which is called dead lands. That's the word for death in Arabic and Hebrew. Dead lands are outside of towns and villages and are owned by nobody, sort of like the American used to be in the West, unless someone revives them, builds a fence, and cultivates them for 3 years. Then you can actually own that land in a private state of ownership. But almost all the lands we're talking about are dead lands, mewat lands, lands that no one has cultivated and no one owns. And so I know that these lands where these things have been built are almost, I don't say universally 100%, but almost completely built on these mewat lands. And mewat belongs to the person who revives them. And that's, even in Islamic law, that is the case. If you enclose it and you cultivate it for 3 to 8 years. We used to have that out in the territories of the United States, out in Oklahoma and places. If you enclosed it, I don't know how long you had to cultivate it, but you then possessed it somewhere. But that's just nonsense, that report. And that's the kind of thing to contribute. Then when Baker and these other people will present their analysis of the political situation of the Middle East, we'll hear that all the problems have to do with the Israel-Arab problem. If we didn't have the Israel-Arab problem, Israel-Palestine problem, we wouldn't have any problems. That's what we're going to hear. And all these people play into that mindset. And of course, the problems in the Middle East have almost nothing to do with the Israel-Palestine situation, because most Arabs couldn't give a fig about the Palestinians and never did. And it has to do with lots of other things, like the Israel-Palestine problem is causing Shiites and Sunnis to murder each other, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But that's what you're going to hear in the coming months. And these people, so it puts me in a really furious, not furious state, but frustrated state. So my daughter said, why don't you write something about it? I said, well, look, I'm not a political person. I can sound off, but I'm not interested. I have enough on my plate with the things that I work on. So I'm in a bad mood, but it relates to what we're doing here. And it relates to self-hatred, people who think they're going to get loved by acting as if they're, you know, the first ones to immolate themselves on their own poignard, as it were. Okay, the Jewish state, page 204. The idea which I have developed is this pamphlet is an ancient one. It's the restoration of the Jewish state. So some will call it utopian, as he said, and we did last time on the next page. But the decisive factor, as he says, is our propelling force. So now we're in the high point of Zionist thought here. Judenstaat. This is what will be known as political Zionism. And the reason it's going to be called political Zionism is because Herzl believes that you must lay the political groundwork properly before you endanger